by the Cinema Addicts. This up we have two great comedies centered around the ideal of a wedding. So stay tuned to find out what movies are going head to head in this week's episode of the Cinema Showdown.
Alright, this is Box Office Robbie, and this is Cinema Showdown! So today we have The Hangover 2009 versus Bridesmaids 2011. Two great raunchy comedies. Pretty much everybody loves them. So we are going to get into the thick of things here. For The Hangover, we have Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis. We don't know how to pronounce his name, but we're going to keep trying. We have Justin Bartha and Heather Graham. And Bridesmaids, we have Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne, Melissa McCarthy, Ellie Kemper. Don't know who she is. So, for the ratings from Rotten Tomatoes, we have 79% for The Hangover, and we have 90% for Bridesmaids. So Bridesmaids wins that one. Moving on. Internet Movie Database gives The Hangover a 7.8. It gives Bridesmaids a 6.8. So The Hangover wins that one. We are at 1-1. So the runtime for The Hangover is 1 hour and 40 minutes. The runtime for Bridesmaids is 2 hours and 5 minutes. So Bridesmaids is 25 minutes longer. They really stretch things out. The box office for these two films. The Hangover opened pretty big in the U.S. in 2009 and went on to gross a total of $277 million and broke the rated R comedy record. Bridesmaid also made a respectful amount with $169 million in the U.S. in 2011. And Melissa McCarthy actually got a Academy nomination for Best Supporting Actress, which is very rare for a comedy to get a nod in the Best Supporting Actress category. So I thought I would point it out. She did not win, but she was nominated, and that's a big honor in itself. So we will move on now to breaking down these films into our 7 categories and see what points we can dock. So with the storyline, I feel these two films have a pretty good storyline, but they are not, completely original, and they're not, fantastic storyline to where you can't dock anything. You have to dock something. So I'm going to dock 0.25 from both of these films for the storyline. Now for the acting, the main stars. For The Hangover, I feel like Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach blah 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 both share the starring roles. Not one really stands out of the other. I'm sure Zach will find a way to pick one over the other, but really these three guys share the starring role. I don't care what anybody says. With Bridesmaids, Kristen Wiig is definitely the star, so we will rate these actors here. With Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach blah blah blah, we're basically going to dock 0.25 for those guys. I thought they did a great job. They were very funny, but I mean, you can't sit there and say these guys put on, some of the best acting roles of all time, so you have to dock something from these guys. I took away 0.25. I did think they did an amazing job. Kristen Wiig and Bridesmaids. I know a lot of people thought, she did an amazing job, and she did. She's funny in it. She shows a little bit of her drama side. I particularly wasn't too impressed, so I had docked 0.50 from her. So in the acting, I have to give The Hangover that category. So for acting supporting, we have for The Hangover is basically like that Justin Bartha guy that was their one buddy that went missing, and Heather Graham. I guess you would kind of consider them the supporting actors in this film. I thought they did okay. Um, it's kind of average, so I had to deduct .50. For Bridesmaids, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne, Melissa McCarthy, and the rest of the cast, they're kind of the supporting cast members. I thought Melissa McCarthy really shined in this film and kind of stole the show, per se. So for me, I could only dock .25 for the supporting acting, mainly just because of Melissa McCarthy. And she was nominated for a Best Supporting Actress. So I took away .25. For special effects, you really couldn't take away anything from these films special effects wise. There really isn't too much special effects in it. So I took away .0. For both of these film scores, they're kind of average scores, so I took away .50. For entertainment value, this is interesting here. I find The Hangover to be a very entertaining film. The film from start to beginning is hilarious, and it really kind of. I remember when it came out in 2009, you're like, okay, finally another comedy that is really, really good. So this is a film that I could watch quite a bit, and we'll get to the rewatchability next. But for the entertainment value, I took away .0 for The Hangover because I found it to be a very entertaining film. For the Bridesmaids, I know there's a lot of people out there that thought this movie was really, really, really hilarious, and they loved it a lot. For me, I found the film to be average in the entertainment value. I find myself watching this movie to be slightly bored and just thought the film was way too long at 2 hours and 5 minutes. So I had to deduct .50 for entertainment value for Bridesmaids. Okay, so now we are at rewatchability. For The Hangover, I feel like I could rewatch The Hangover quite a bit. I mean, if it's on TV and I don't happen to see something else on that I really like a lot, I'll probably watch a little bit of The Hangover. I don't think it's as rewatchable as some of my other favorite comedies, so I feel like I had to take away at least .25. With The Bridesmaids, to be honest with you, besides seeing it the very first time, I think I've watched it one other time a little bit on TV. This was, the fact that it's 2 hours and 5 minutes long, and the film has kind of a little bit of a drama side to it, just a little bit, to counter the raunchy comedy side. I wasn't as crazy about Bridesmaids as a lot of people were, and I remember when my wife and I watched it together, I was just kind of like, looked over at her like, what did you think of that film? And she kind of just was like, it was okay. So even she wasn't crazy about it. So for rewatchability, I have to deduct .50 from this film. I could probably rewatch this film probably like every 5 years. So for the total tally, I have The Hangover at 8.25 stars. For Bridesmaids, I have it at 7.50. So the winner to me, and I'm not being sexist, is The Hangover.
Okay, now it is my turn. I'm first going to start off with Bridesmaids. I really like this movie. I thought it was very, very good. Really like Kristen Wiig. Watched Saturday Night Live a lot. Really miss that she's on there. I thought the whole cast was really good. Just to let you know, Ellie Kemper, she's from The Office, and she's also from the show Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Just letting you know, Robbie. Just letting you know. And also, side note, it's Zach Galifianakis, not Zach Galifianakis. So, just saying. Okay, so first off, I'm going to talk about the story of Bridesmaids. Again, this is a story where this girl finds out her best friend's getting married and all the troubles that happens up until the day of the wedding. Now, Kristen Wiig's character is best friends with the bride. She's the maid of honor, but the bride has a new friend, which is played by Rose Byrne, who is rich, wants all the attention on her. So Kristen Wiig gets really jealous, and her jealousy is pretty much what drives the entire movie. So this has a little bit more of an original story. It's not strictly a bachelorette party. It's going over the whole concept of from finding out that your best friend's married up until the day that she gets married. I can't really tell if there's any other movie out there that is kind of like that, so I couldn't really take off too much for it because it's more of a good original story versus The Hangover. Hangover has kind of been done before. Another really good thing about this movie that is primarily a female-driven cast, which you don't get to see as much, a little bit more nowadays. But back when this came out, you just didn't see that too much. Let's see what else. Again, jealousy, just seeing what that does to you. And I have to say one really funny part is the trying on dress scene, which I will get into with the entertainment section. Now, storyline for The Hangover is the classic. Everyone wakes up, doesn't remember the night before, something's missing. Very similar to the plot of Dude, Where's My Car? But, this movie has better quality and better jokes, and it's not really stupid. Again, because this is not really an original bachelor party's gone wrong. This has been done time and time again. So I can't really give this any higher than an average rating for story, even though there is hilarious parts. But that's more of the special effects area because jokes is the main driving point of a comedy. Let's see. And just again, this is a very unfortunate story. So, story-wise, I have to lean more towards Bridesmaids for this, just for the fact that it is a little bit more of an original story to tell. All right, moving on to acting. Now, the acting is a little bit different between two. One in the Bridesmaids is one actress versus The Hangover, which has three actors because it's more of an ensemble cast. But again, let's start off with Bridesmaids because the ladies first. Now, I couldn't really give Kristen Wiig, too high of a rating for this because having seen a lot of stuff that she's in, she is pretty much acting how she usually acts in everything. But if I were to come into this not knowing anything about her, I would have think, she does great. She's hilarious, which I personally think she is hilarious. But having seen her in other things, I can't personally give her too high of a rating because this is, average acting for her. This is how she usually acts. So, again, she's really funny. If you watch SNL, you'll love this movie. You'll love her in this. Now, with The Hangover, the main actors is Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach Galifianakis. Not according to Robbie. I feel that they did better acting than Kristen Wiig did because, for one, this is kind of the start of what you see Zach Galifianakis do. Before you really haven't really heard of him too much, but after this is where he got his big start, and this is where he started acting his typical stupid self. If you've seen not Road Trip, but Due Date, he kind of has like the same kind of personality, sort of. Ed Helms, Ed Helms kind of plays Ed Helms in this. That's all I can say. Bradley Cooper, I know a lot of people wasn't really too familiar with who Bradley Cooper was unless you've seen Wedding Crashers. That was the first thing I've seen him in. But this really launched his career, I think. Let's see. And again, they had good chemistry, good back and forth with each other. I thought, they really mended very well. Now, supporting acting with Bridesmaids, I think that they did a little bit better job than Kristen Wiig did, especially Melissa McCarthy, because after watching this movie, Melissa McCarthy is the person that you remember. Certainly true for me. And the others, Rose Byrne, let's see what her other name is. That Wendy Covey and Maya Rudolph, they all did pretty good job. I thought it was real funny when they're on the airplane and they think they're going to crash because Kristen Wiig's freaking out. Ella Kemper and that Wendy girl start making out because Ella Kemper is like this really pristine church-going girl and hasn't lived. So they're like, we'll make out with each other before we die. With The Hangover, the supporting acting in my eyes is Justin Bartha and Ken Jeong. Now, I had to give this a about average rating just because Justin Bartha is kind of like meh. Who really cares about him? If it wasn't for him, this would have been rated a little bit higher because I thought Ken Jeong was really hilarious in this movie. One of the real funny thing is that he actually improvised the part where he jumps out of the back of the trunk naked and starts beating on him. I thought that was hilarious that he did that. It's kind of gross, but whatever. Now with the score, both are rated the same. It's not very memorable. That's the only thing I can say. Special effects wise for the Bridesmaids, with the comedy, when we talk about special effects for different movies, it's different for each movie. Special effects for comedies is the jokes, actions, the action scenes. Drama is the dramatic performances, sci-fi, so on and so forth. Scary movies, the horrorness. Is it scary? Is it stupid? Which, we'll get into a little bit horror next week. But the jokes, it is a hilarious movie, but for the most part, it does run a little bit long. One of the scenes I remember a lot is when Kristen Wiig's trying to get the attention of her cop boyfriend, and they had a fight, so he's trying not to pay attention to her. So she keeps driving by where he's stationed at, where he's trying to, catch speeders, and she's doing all these different things to break the law. And finally, gets his attention by ramming into him. That is like only one of the biggest things I can think of with comedy-wise that was really good. Also, the scene where they had just eaten really bad Brazilian food and they go try on dresses and they all shit and throw up on each other. And Maya Rudolph goes and poops in the middle of the street. That is hilarious. But those two scenes, I don't really feel that really carries the comedy for the whole movie. If I'm watching a comedy and it means to be like hilarious throughout, like movies like Pineapple Express or Knocked Up. Knocked Up is a drama and comedy, but they had good jokes throughout the whole thing. Now I'm not saying Bridesmaids is not a funny movie. They do have little smaller jokes, but they just don't hit as hard as The Hangover does, just because The Hangover is more of an unfortunate comedy, situational. I thought it was more hilarious. And they also added, other things in to kind of make the whole night crazy. Like, they had a freaking tiger in the hotel room. Speaking of hotel room, I was looking at a little bit of trivia for this movie, and they have a lot of references to Rain Man. I didn't realize this while watching this. I guess it's really subtle. But they have this one scene where they're going down an escalator into a casino. That's the same thing that happens in Rain Man. They even stay in a hotel that is modeled off of the hotel that is in Rain Man. And also they have a cameo by an actress that was in Rain Man playing the same character. I thought that was pretty cool. Just saying. But with special effects wise, I have to give it to The Hangover. So entertainment, both I feel are about par, if not just slightly higher. Bridesmaid is not average. It's not the best. It's right there in the middle road of average and best. So I, 0.25 range. Same with The Hangover. But if you get down to the microness of it, I would have to give it to The Hangover, even though I'm giving them both 0.25 off, because both are very hilarious. The Hangover is very funny, but I can't give it a point zero off because of the fact that it's not the most funniest thing I've ever seen. It's not the best, so it's really hard for me to give it that outstanding rating. Which I mean, it's very close to. If I had to really get down to the nitty gritty, I would actually take a point maybe 1.5 off instead of a 0.25 off, but. C'est la vie. Now rewatchability, they both again are the same. I can't really tell you. The one thing I really like about Bridesmaids, they do have that dramatic effect to it. They have the whole seeing what jealousy does to someone. So both 0.25. At the end of the day, Bridesmaids gets a 0.75 for me, and The Hangover also gets a 0.75 for me. But getting down to the nitty gritty, the 0.5 point, I'm gonna give it to The Hangover. So next up,
Okay, so for this week's showdown, Bridesmaids versus The Hangover. These are two really good movies, really good comedies here. Bridesmaid has more at times of a serious drama moments than The Hangover does. Hangover's just more over the top, crazy comedy type thing. So, but still, overall, the movies have basically the same sort of like storylines of bachelor parties, someone getting married, and things going bad and all that stuff. So, with storylines, I like the Hangover storyline just a little bit more better, just a little bit more funnier to me. But don't get me wrong, I like Bridesmaids a lot. Most people I talk to, they actually will underrate Bridesmaid more than me. I actually liked it. I think I like it more than a lot of people out there does. I really enjoyed Bridesmaid. I thought it had some really good comedy. I love the scenes where they're on the airplane with that air marshal, which is actually Melissa McCarthy's actually husband in real life. I thought that scenes was really, really funny, how she kept talking to him and then eventually trying to get him to do some sexual things with her. So, overall, with storyline, I have to give it a little bit more to The Hangover, just because there's just a little bit more funnier extreme scenes, I feel, in The Hangover than Bridesmaid, with the storyline it is. So, acting's pretty good in both movies. I don't have really any complaints with the acting wise or supporting actor. I think they both are about on the same page there. I think it's both pretty good on both ends. With the comedy, I think Bridesmaid has a lot of funny moments, and especially with The Hangover. First Hangover is really, really funny. I don't care for the sequels, but the first Hangover is really, really funny. Mike Tyson having a little cameo in it, a little bit there towards the end of it is hilarious with his scenes. So, the comedy-wise, I have to go again with a little bit more to The Hangover than Bridesmaids. What kind of kills me more about Bridesmaids is how long the movie is, and I think that's what hurts the movie. The movie is like a little bit over 2 hours. So there's times of that movie where it gets a little kind of dull and gets in a little bit into the romantic love part where she gets with the cop but then wants to back out of it, and she has a little fallout with her friend that's getting married in the movie. So in those scenes, I mean, which is fine because I like those drama type moments too, but overall when I watch these movies I expect a good all-out comedy mostly through it at times. So since the movie's a little bit over 2 hours, there's just a few scenes here and there where I'm about to yawn and be like, okay, let's move on type of feel. With The Hangover, I believe it's like an hour and 40 minutes or so long, and pretty much almost from beginning to end. There's just nonstop comedy and lots of funny moments. So I think with that little 2 hour runtime with Bridesmaid, it hurts it just a little bit, and that's why. Overall, I'm going a little bit more with The Hangover. For me, I think The Hangover wins this showdown, and not by much, because I really like Bridesmaids. Like I said, I think IMDb gave it like a 6.6 or 6.8 or something. My score is just a little bit higher than that. My score for Bridesmaid is a 7.25, and for The Hangover, I have it at a 7.75. So I just a little bit more have The Hangover beating the Bridesmaid movie, but both movies you'll really enjoy. They both have really good moments, comedy. They both have a pretty good storyline to it. So that is my pick. My winner of this showdown is to the great comedy, The Hangover.
Well, it looks like the winner of the day is The Hangover. I thought maybe it would be maybe 2-1, but I guess The Hangover just does it. Now, like we've said before, both are very good movies. It's, it's very hard to kind of tell which one's which on the better best scale, but at the end of the day, when you crunch all the numbers, The Hangover wins. Surprise! So next up, we're going to do our classic movie pitches. So first up, we're going to do Brian, then I'm going to go ahead and do mine.
Okay, so my movie pitch of this week with Jack Nicholson in a bachelor party movie. My movie is called Didn't See It Coming. It has Jack Nicholson marrying Betty White. So Jack Nicholson goes to Cancun with his buddies Michael Keaton, Bruce Willis, and Seth Green. While they're there, partying, having a good time, getting drunk, seeing Jack Nicholson reenacting his shining moment, he finally meets and falls in love with Michelle Obama. Surprise! At the party, he meets Michelle Obama. Somehow she's there, and you find out that President Obama is not there, just only her. So Jack Nicholson thinks something's up and notices something is wrong with Michelle Obama, so they hang out, have some drinks. There are scenes where they're getting kind of intimate and stuff, so at the end of the movie, he calls off the wedding with Betty White. She probably had a heart attack in the movie then, I don't know, and decides to marry Mrs. Obama. So I have the tagline as never too old to change your mind. So I thought it would be funny to kind of go a little outrageous here with Jack Nicholson, since this is pretty funny of him doing a bachelor party type movie like this, like The Hangover. So I thought it'd be funny that the woman he falls in love with would be someone you wouldn't expect like that. I thought Michelle Obama would be pretty funny and shocking if this was actually a real movie. So, and I thought it'd be funny that his buddies in it would be Michael Keaton, since they was in Batman together. Bruce Willis, he's funny and crazy. And I don't know, just off the top of my head, I thought of Seth Green. I don't know why. I was thinking about him in a couple movies earlier, so I was like, I'm just going to make him part of the group. So, there it is. The movie's called Didn't See It Coming.
Okay, so my idea for a movie pitch starring Jack Nicholson. This movie has Jack Nicholson marrying a very young girl at his current age, because, that happens nowadays. You got the gold diggers out there. So on this bachelor party, you have Jack Nicholson going out with some young guys, mainly his fiance's brother and his son, Jack Nicholson's son, that is, and couple other old work buddies. So it's gonna be maybe like three young guys, three old guys going to Vegas, of course, because Vegas is where they always go. So while they're there, one of them keeps faking a heart attack so they can get their way to get things. And then guess what? It actually happens. So they're rushing to find something to do to help their friend. It's kind of like a drama comedy, sort of. Don't cry wolf, because next time, people aren't going to believe you. And it takes them a while to believe them because they've faked heart attacks maybe about 3 or 4 times at this point. So, at the end of the day, it teaches you, don't lie, people. Also, don't date younger people because that is just gross. So, my name of my movie is The Heart Attack Kid. I know my movie pitch isn't really good, but hey, I'm doing it on the fly. I am just doing it. I didn't write anything down. This is off the top of my head, and this is the best I can do. So next up, we got Robert.
So, here we go. Let's see how this one turns out. Alright. The following preview has been approved for all audiences. What happens when your old buddy is getting divorced after 30 years of marriage? You throw him a bachelor party. Are you ready for the sex, girls? The hot, hotly, hot, big hot girls. Are you ready for the sex, girls? Wait, you've been married 30 years now? Yes, 30 years, and I haven't been laid in 20. We're taking James out tonight. There's gonna be women and a 7-year-old hard-on. More like a heart attack. 4 friends throw their old pal the party of his life. What the hell, man? I thought it was stripper on wheels, like in a car. Not strippers in wheelchairs. Oh man, that's messed up. Sometimes life has different plans. Look, I appreciate what you guys have been trying to do. I really do. I just need to figure things out. I need to get my life back. I need to get my wife back. Jack Nicholson, Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, and Alec Baldwin, with Will Ferrell. The night is young. Listen up. My friend James here is a free man tonight. His beloved wife just died, so we need to show him a good time. Hey, his wife didn't die. She just left him. Oh. Okay, oops, scratch that. His wife apparently didn't die. She just left him. So, who's ready for body shots? Sorry, James. Are you ready for the sex, girls? The hot, hotly, hot, big hot. November 9th.
Okie dokie, that was Robbie's pitch. We're going to end things off with the regular movie quote of the week to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're going to be doing next week. So, Again, before Brian starts doing his thing, go ahead and click the links on the bottom. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, in person, anything. So go ahead and do that and do it, Brian.
So I have the movie quote here. Since next week's podcast is going to be going into October, it's time for Halloween type movies, gore horror movies. So this movie quote here is the clue for next week's showdown. So if you know this movie by this quote, post the answer on our Twitter, Facebook, or on iTunes, whichever you like, whichever you go on. So here is the movie quote. I will feast on your soul. So I try to sound like this thing in this horror movie, so hopefully you heard me enough trying to do that. So if you know this movie, post the answer. This is a very good classic movie here. So if you know that tagline there, make sure you post the answer to us. Thank you.
See you later.